How's it going, everyone? So today is Saturday, May 15th, aka UFC 262. Some good fighters on today's card, some good fights in general, and I'm going to start at the bottom of the main card and work my way up to the main event, breaking down the 5 fights on the main card. So the first fight we have Shane Burgos versus Edson Barboza. Edson Barboza has been around for a while. Shane Burgos is not necessarily new, but I would say he's more of a prospect and more of a contender right now than Edson Barboza is. But with that being said, fighters, for example, like Edson Barboza, I find him very similar to Tony Ferguson in the sense that it could be true that maybe they are not as good as they once were. Now, that doesn't mean that they're bad, and that doesn't mean that they can't win a fight. But there is also forward momentum that new contenders and prospects are going to have. So with Shane Burgos, first I'd say Edson Barboza, he's super dangerous. He's dangerous pretty much everywhere. He's dangerous with his kicks, his hands, his grappling. With Shane Burgos, though, I think he has definitely better hands, definitely more powerful hands, and he also has like an it factor. So if you watch as he gets close to finishing people, like his whole kind of demeanor changes, his attitude changes, and he gets pretty violent and he looks for the kill. And I think that separates a lot of fighters, to be honest with you. So I'm going to go with Shane Burgos. But here we're going to do a round 3 knockout. And the reason I'm saying that is because if you watch a lot of Shane Burgos' fights, he can take a punch. And I could imagine this fight going down to the final round. And they're both probably going to be swinging like crazy. And they both might even be kind of wobbling. And I just think that Burgos is going to get the final hit and put Edson down. So that's the first fight. Second fight, we have Katlyn Chookagian and Viviane Araújo. And so this should be an interesting one. Both of these fighters are kind of opposites. Chookagian has really good wrestling. And Vivian, she has really good striking. She has really good hands. So it's kind of like, does Chookagian kind of slow the pace and try to use more of the wrestling to bring down some of Vivian's striking? I think this is going to be a round 2 knockout. And the reason I say that is, from my personal experience, when I watch a lot of female MMA fights, it happens in males too, but particularly in female fights, I see this sense of kind of like once the shit starts to hit the fan, the shit just kind of hits the fan. It's like a lot of times I feel like it's more common for men in the UFC. I'm not talking just in general, but in the UFC, it's more common for men. Sometimes you'll see, for example, Cody Garbrandt. He starts to kind of lose. Next thing, he's going like batshit, and it makes you feel like inside his head he must be thinking, okay, well, whatever's happening is going to happen in this round. I'm either going to get knocked out or knock him out in this round because it's happening right now. Some fighters have the ability to kind of push the brakes and slow the pace. But when I watch female MMA fighters in the UFC, it seems like this thing that is very common is they don't like to be like actively being beat throughout the round. So it's this mindset of like, well, if I'm getting outstriked now, let's go all out, and if I get knocked out, I get knocked out. But I'd rather get knocked out than sit here for 3 rounds and just keep getting, jacked in the chin. So I'm going to go with round 2 knockout, Viviane Araújo. So then we have Matthew Schnell, Rogerio Bontorin. This should be a good one. Rogerio Bontorin has really good hands. He has good grappling too. He's a little shorter than Matt Schnell. I am actually a big Matt Schnell fan. I've watched a lot of his fights kind of on his way coming up, I could say. Matt Schnell doesn't have as heavy hands as Rogerio Bontorin, but he has really, really good angles. That's what originally made me like Matthew Schnell in the first place, is I watched some of his fights, and the way that he moves, the angles he was striking at was really nice. And he also kind of has the same mindset that I feel like Shane Burgos has, when it comes down to that kind of, kill or be killed mentality in the final rounds, So with this, again, I'm actually going to say this is going to be a round 3 knockout again. Actually, I'm going to change it. I'm going to say round 3 TKO. and Matt Schnell's going to be the winner. And I could almost imagine a very similar ending to the Shane Burgos Edson Barboza fight, where I can imagine in the last round, the third round, maybe even the second, but let's say the third round, they're both going to be kind of swinging like crazy. They're both going to be stumbling, and it's going to be like, okay, whoever can kind of land the cleanest hit is probably going to put the other away. But I also think that although Matthew Schnell doesn't have as much power, I think that with his angles, it only takes one or two for him to catch, So we're going to go with round 3, Matt Schnell, knockout. TKO. All right, now we're at the co-main event. We have Tony Ferguson, Beneil Dariush. All right, so I'm pretty excited for this one, and a lot of people are not going to like what I have to say. But I'm going to predict that it is going to be, again, a third-round TKO, and Beneil Dariush is going to win. All right, so why would I say that? Well, obviously, if you watch the Tony Ferguson-Justin Gaethje fight, you can see that he didn't do as well. And there's probably a lot of people who are going to hear that and say, well, fighters have bad fights, and I get that. And then, after Tony fought, let's check this out. After Tony fought Justin, I thought he had another fight, and I am having a little slip up, but we'll figure this out right now. Because I thought he fought someone else and didn't look the greatest. Oh, yeah, of course, Charles Oliveira. All right. So he lost to Charles Oliveira, who's also fighting tonight. But it's not just that. I think that I think around the time that Tony Ferguson kind of was in the midst of the last talk with Khabib that, I definitely wouldn't say he's not training as hard. To be completely honest, what I would say, and this kind of sucks for some fighters, is as MMA and the UFC continue to get more popular, the competition is going to increase. And I think that from watching Beneil Dariush, he's a very good striker, and I think that is one of the things that obviously really hurt Tony Ferguson in the Justin Gaethje fight. But not just that, I think Beneil Dariush has a lot of similar traits, I suppose, to Justin Gaethje. And the biggest one that I see is the fact that they can both take hits. And that's very, very dangerous because you can tell in the Tony Ferguson fight, Tony Ferguson likes to show off this side of himself of like being able to take hits and take the damage and keep going, right? But when he met Justin Gaethje in the middle of the octagon, Justin Gaethje also does that. And Justin Gaethje was doing that a little better and used a little more technique. I feel like if Tony Ferguson tries to do that with Beneil Dariush, again, just like two of the other 3 fights I've said so far, I feel like it's going to be both of them stumbling, literally swinging for the fences. And I think that Beneil Dariush is not going to go down easily. Matter of fact, I don't think he's going to go down at all. I think Tony's going to get close to putting him down. Maybe he might drop him. Tony Ferguson did get that, land that uppercut on Justin Gaethje and dropped him. But I think it's going to be another TKO. And I think that they're both going to kind of push themselves and push their bodies, of course. But not just that. Not every fighter has that mindset of like, I can show people how much I'm going to get hurt. I think both fighters are going to try to show people that they can take kind of a beating. And I don't know why they do this, but hey, then again, I'm not the fighter here. But I think they're both going to try to show that like, hey, it takes a lot to hurt me. But with that being said, I think in the final round, so in the third round, I think Beneil is going to land a heavy shot on Tony, and it's going to be very similar to the Justin Gaethje fight where Tony's not going to go down, but like the crowd is going to be like, all right, he's done. But Tony's going to be like kind of putting his hand up and doing what he can to try to show the ref that he's still in the fight. But I think it will be very clear that he won't really be in the fight anymore, and the ref will have to stop it. So I'm going to say Beneil Dariush by TKO in the third round for the co-main event as well. All right, sweet. And now we're on to the main event. Really excited for this one. Charles Oliveira, Michael Chandler. So Charles Oliveira, he's been working his way up for a while. Looks better every single fight. Michael Chandler came over from Bellator, and this will be his second fight in the UFC. He fought and took out Dan Hooker a couple months ago, which to be honest with you, I was saying that Dan Hooker had a much better chance. And, these things happen. But Michael Chandler caught Dan Hooker, and it really surprised me. And I started looking into more of his older stuff. And, he's definitely good. I never thought that he wasn't good. Now, Charles Oliveira is a beast, and he's one of my personal favorite fighters. And I will say that this main event, is probably the only fight of this card that I'm doing a prediction of that the person I would like to win isn't my pick. I think Michael Chandler's wrestling background and his wrestling ability is going to throw off Charles Oliveira's game plan of bringing it to the ground. Charles Oliveira is extremely good with submissions, and Michael Chandler is extremely powerful with his hands, particularly his right hand, which is probably his most dangerous weapon. And it's kind of crazy to think that he kind of throws the 1-2, but with hooks, and that can put anyone in their weight class down. So with this fight, it's going to be close, I believe, and it really is going to depend on what kind of game plan each fighter shows up with. But if I had to choose, and I had to, pick a fighter, I would say that Charles Oliveira is probably going to keep his hands down more than he should. And he'll try to keep distance, but I don't think it's going to work great for him. I think Michael Chandler is going to put a lot of pressure on with the wrestling early, and he's going to mix it up, and it is going to bring Charles Oliveira's defense down a little. And like I said, Michael Chandler's, it only takes one punch for him to put your lights out. So that's why with these fights, Michael Chandler could base his whole fight around setting himself up for finding the opportunity to land one punch. And that's a crazy thought, because a lot of fighters don't have that option. If you don't have the power to put someone out, you can't create a game plan that is based on setting up for one punch. And there's certain fighters who can do that. So I'm going to go with Michael Chandler, and I am going to say, I'm going to say round 2. Actually, no, I'm not going to say round 2. That's the main event. I forgot there's 5 rounds. I'm going to say round 4. Round 4. And I think the reason why is I think round 3 is going to be rough for Charles Oliveira, but he's going to think maybe he's kind of making this comeback. I can imagine between round 3 and 4, Michael Chandler slows down a little on purpose to catch his breath for like the second half of round 4 and 5, and he's going to all of a sudden be way more explosive than he was for like the last 5 to 10 minutes. And again, someone this explosive, it doesn't take long. And I think he's going to connect. So I'm going to say Michael Chandler wins, knockout in round 4. All right, well, I appreciate everyone who checked this video out. We'll see how I did tonight when the fights are done. And if anything, just, I hope you guys enjoy watching the fight. And if you did enjoy this little breakdown, this is something I'm still new to, but I really enjoy. So if you don't mind, just leave a little comment. Let me know what you thought of my breakdown, and I appreciate it. All right, thanks. Bye.